Hi, welcome to Skin's YouTube channel. I am Geoff Bussetil, and I was one of the writers on Generation 3. I wrote both Nick's episodes, so Nick in 5 and Nick in 6, and these are my top 5 Skins moments. I'm going to start with an episode and a moment that everyone loves, but I'm the second person to do top 5, so I'm going to claim it early on, and that is Sid's dad dying, and particularly the scene where Tony and Sid come back and take the whiskey out of his hand and sort of come together over Sid's dad's sort of body.
Is this really happening? I think so.
They're standalone films, really, and they tie into the series, but really they're about what that story is that week, and that's just an amazing contained story about fathers and sons, and then it beautifully then, in that moment when Sid runs to the club and sees Tony, ties back into the series, and the series gives its resonance, and it's just an amazing moment, and it's one of the best pieces of TV for me over the last 10 years. Moment number 2 is from series 5, and it's written by Georgia Lester, who's obviously a genius, and it was just magical. It starts from the moment where you watch a girl agree to have sex with a guy when she knows she doesn't want to, and he knows she doesn't want to, and it's so poignant because you know that neither of them want to, and you know that they shouldn't, but you also know that because of who they are and the age they are, they have to, and it's just magical.
Minnie, anything you want to tell me?
I love you.
Okay, so moment number 3 is when Nick smashes the shit out of his kitchen. If you hadn't liked Nick by then, that moment doesn't work, and I think it did work, and you know, I had to find a way to love Nick, and you know, I had 2 problems there, because like, Nick wasn't a very likeable character, and Sean Teal, who eventually did a really good performance in that scene, gave it everything, was a bit of a nightmare, and he didn't sort of get involved. He was quite difficult on set, full of himself, and it was pretty difficult at times, because we were like, how are we going to make this character likeable if the actor who's playing him is such a monster? But you know,
Hello, mate.
mate, when you come on in. No, I'm joking, of course. He's wonderful.
I did this for him as well.
Yeah, no. The truth of the matter is that the reason it's actually amazing, that moment for me, is that Sean, who had been basically on the back burner for the first sort of 5 episodes, sort of in the background, sort of being a douche, gave his absolute everything to the role, and that's how we ended up liking Nick. It was because Sean's performance, and I'm not saying that to blow smoke up his arse, it was true. There's this sort of weird vulnerability behind the eyes, which you have in the earlier scenes where he's like being undercut by Matty in front of the others, and you suddenly understood who Nick was, and then it all crescendos to that scene, which I think it's fair to say, were right in that moment, weren't you?
Yeah. I sort of broke down and had a bit of a bad one. But that, I was very much in it, and that was sort of down to the way it was written and the way it came about.
So far, I've gone for quite big moments, and whereas like the beauty of Skins is offered is the smaller moments that are just like sort of magical in a different way. And a lot of when you're writing the show is you're constantly told, don't go big, don't sort of melodrama. A lot of it's in the interactions in the moment. So I wanted a moment like that, and a moment that I've always loved, which I think is one of the best sort of beats of sort of male friendship, is in Aloe's episode, series 5.
Guess what I just did?
With Grace?
Yes, of course with Grace.
Fuck! Nice one.
Keep thinking, you know, me and you, we're growing up and it's fucking awesome. This is it, mate.
Very understated, it's a short exchange, and it ends on a gag, which is give her one from me. But in that moment, everything about sort of being mates is in there. It's like he desperately wants Rich to be there for him, and Rich would be there for him, but he doesn't want to ruin Rich's moment, and he takes a step back, and it says exactly who Aloe is as a character, exactly what their friendship is, and in its own quiet way, it's utterly heartbreaking.
Give her one for me, yeah?
Fuck off.
So, moment 5, the final moment, and this one is very personal. It's not mine, but it's both a moment I loved and a moment that meant a huge amount to me personally, which was Rich, when he's deaf, watching Grace do ballet. It was so beautiful, and I love that sequence still today. I love where it is in the episode. It's beautiful writing, it's beautifully directed, and it was, for me, it was like the moment where having not worked on the show and been a fan of the show and talked about the show for 4 or 5 months beforehand, what was going to happen, suddenly there it is, and it becomes real, and it was magical. And I've said magical again. But I suppose a lot of it is magic. So anyway, those are my 5. I know I've sort of gone Gen 3 heavy, but you know, I'm biased. And yeah, this has been fun, hasn't it, Sean?
Yeah, we're not friends anymore, you know.
I know, no. Since we finished, he doesn't talk to me anymore. Take care, guys. Bye.